A lot of people don't believe in ghost towns, but those people are idiots. They confuse the paranormal with an abandoned town or village. I don't like those people, but in this video they will see the truth. Ghost towns exist, and so do reptilian overlords. Deep in the Amazon rainforest is a long-abandoned ghost town. It was founded in 1928 by Henry Ford, and was intended to be his vision of utopia. He called it Fordlandia, where 10,000 people would live and cultivate rubber for his car company. But it wouldn't just be a remote cultivation plant. Fordlandia would be the perfect American town in the middle of Brazil. Workers had free housing and medical care and food. But Ford banned alcohol and forced workers to attend square dances, which is enough to make anyone revolt. Workers rioted until the Brazilian military suppressed them. Rioters caused damage to buildings and cut telegraph wires. Ford's utopian vision fell apart and the town was abandoned. From the mid-90s to 2008, Ireland's economy was growing at an incredible rate. Real estate developers took this opportunity. Entire neighbourhoods were built from scratch. But in 2008, Ireland's economy crashed and no one moved into these new areas. They were left as creepy suburban ghost towns. Walk through them and you may feel like its population had mysteriously disappeared. The Irish government has gradually been decreasing the number of these neighbourhoods as they don't want their country to feel like a Stephen King story. Times Beach was a fairly dull and ordinary town in Missouri. Around 2,000 people called it home until 1983 when the town was accidentally poisoned. It all started because the town was mostly connected by dirt roads, which of course are annoying because dust gets everywhere. So locals hired someone to stop the dust from spreading, or at least reduce it. He covered the roads in waste oil from a nearby chemical plant, but what he didn't realize is that plant was used to make Agent Orange for the Vietnam War, so the waste oil was high in dioxin levels. This literally poisoned the town. After 60 horses died, Times Beach was evacuated and quarantined. It was now a ghost town. 2 years later, it was officially disincorporated. The dioxin levels are thought to have been over 1,000 times that found in Agent Orange. Countries with real estate bubbles do weird things. They go crazy. In China, they have built small replicas of Western cities, so they have their own small London, Venice, and Paris. The problem is few locals want to live in these replicas. So now they're just strange ghost towns that seem like glitches in the Matrix. Chinese Paris has an Eiffel Tower 1/3 the size of the original. The ghost towns may soon be demolished as the Chinese government has declared them as not being socialist. Either way, if you want to see Paris but not French people, head to China. I think there are too many places called Georgia. South Georgia is a small island near Antarctica. The island was once the largest whaling centre on Earth. In 1909, this whaling settlement was established by a Scottish company. As it was a lucrative industry, workers were attracted to live at the harbour. But of course, hunting whales was largely outlawed in 1986, and LEITH Harbour was abandoned. It's now a ghost town, at least as far as humans are concerned. Penguins and seals often wander into the old buildings, as do reindeer. The reindeer population was introduced by whalers stationed here. It took more than one attempt as they kept dying in avalanches. This small town was the state capital of Alabama from 1820 to 1826, but the town was in a terrible location, by which I don't mean the state of Alabama. That could be lovely for all I know. Probably not though. Thanks to major floods, the town was slowly abandoned. It's been a ghost town for over a century, but the town was never forgotten about. It's said the town is haunted by the ghosts of slaves who died before abolition. A Confederate prison was built here during the Civil War, which is also thought to be haunted. The town today has an eerie feel to it. This church stands in partial ruins after a fire devastated it long ago. This photo, that looks like the house from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. What is this place, my god? Until 1922, the city of Kayakoy was traditionally home to a population of Greek Orthodox Christians. There were many Greek populations in Turkey and Turkish populations in Greece. But in 1919, the two countries went to war over land disputes, and persecution caused most ethnic Greeks to return to Greece. Ethnic Turks were expelled from Greece. By the end of the war, this entire village had been abandoned. It's been a ghost town since. The region's winds have stripped the uncared for buildings so that they look much older than they are. And after almost a century they look ancient, which seems fitting as they were built on the site of an ancient city. It has a post-apocalyptic feel, standing in ruins and under government protection. Adolf Hitler's father was born in a small Austrian village called Dollersheim. He was not fond of his father. Maybe that's why in 1938 he had it evacuated. Dollersheim was used as a military training area. All of its houses were bombed for training, and the village is still an exclusion zone for the Austrian military. Access is restricted, which explains its preservation. It's unclear why Hitler chose this exact village. Some think it's because he wanted to keep people away from his father's birthplace. Hitler didn't know who his grandfather was, so he couldn't prove for certain that he wasn't part Jewish. Evacuating and bombing his father's village is a very Nazi way of solving that problem, so I wouldn't be surprised. This Chilean village was abandoned shortly before a nearby volcano left it looking like Silent Hill. That was in 2008, but up until then the volcano hadn't erupted in 9,000 years. Mudflow from the eruption completely wrecked the village. Authorities decided not to rebuild as the volcano could erupt again at any time, leaving a ghost town half set in mud. The haunting ruins of a modern settlement. Cars and entire buildings were left submerged in volcanic ash. Before the eruption, the town was home to 4,000 people and capital of a Chilean region, but now it's been largely forgotten. Another volcano to recently reawaken was Mount Sinabung. This time it erupted in 2010 and had been dormant for 400 years. It became just another of Indonesia's 120 active volcanoes. With this and several other eruptions since, multiple surrounding villages have been abandoned. Areas of surrounding ghost towns are essentially quarantined, requiring special permission to enter. Buildings were boarded up and simply left to fall apart. It's a dead village, and as the volcano above could erupt at any time, will likely remain dead for a long time. In fact, as I write this, Mount Sinabung was seen erupting just days ago, with molten lava heading towards the ghost town.